Drew, thank you for joining me today on Pop Culture Unplugged.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
The Unbreakable Boy, man, it's such a powerful and uplifting story. For those who are gonna watch this, what can you tell us about this film and the message that it's gonna give the people when they tune in?
Well, to me, I think it's a beautiful, life affirming film for whoever you are. If you happen to be a parent um, of any child, but particularly a child with special needs, or a parent of a child with special needs, this movie, really touches the heart, and I think is an important watch for all of us. We enjoyed making this. It is absolutely one of my most favorite films and favorite roles I've ever done in my career. It's a movie that is, it doesn't shy away from the challenges that all of us
Mm.
go through, but celebrates, the differences that we have, and celebrates, staying together and staying with each other, and supporting each other. And that's why, to me, this is the kind of movie that I'm so glad people are still making, and I'm so glad people will get a chance to see.
The movie's based on a true story too, and we see it shines a lot of light from through the world of Austin, the way he looks at things. Like for you, what was it about this story that like resonated with you, and like when you first read the script, like what went through your mind?
That's a great question, and it's interesting you say you first read the script, because that is always, no matter the project, that first script reading is
Yeah.
always like so important to me, because you kind of realize what you're getting into, and things change often from the draft that you read, or by the time you get there. I had a job one time where the draft, by the time I landed in the location, was completely different than the
Yeah.
one that I started reading when I took off. So you never know what you're going to get. In this case, I read this movie and just smiled and cried my way through it, and was just so ecstatic that I was going to get a chance to be a part of it. As a dad, meant even more.
Yeah.
It celebrates being a parent, both mother and father, and my character is connected with the father. So being a dad, there's always one moment in the film. I've seen it a few times. It's been a while now because we shot this a while ago,
Yeah.
but there's always one moment in the film that gets me every time, and makes me tear up, as a dad of a son. And but I just think it's so special having friends, with kids with autism and special needs. It's even like more important. I don't know if you know anybody, but most of us
I do. Yeah.
do, and it's the amount of patience and just love that these parents have, particularly, is has always been astonishing to me, and always to me been worthy of being lifted up. And I think that's what this movie does. And again, it doesn't shy away from the hard parts. It doesn't shy away from the exasperation and the tiredness that you
Yeah.
get from trying to raise a kid with special needs. But it highlights also all those beautiful things, and that's what Austin is. Austin is this, this energy and this light, and
Yeah.
that's so special, and something we really need these days. And often, a little child shall lead them, and that's certainly the case in this movie. So yeah, it's a special one.
Mm. Was Joe in the like a character in the book? Was he a real person? What can you tell us about that?
This is my one of my favorite things, and why this is one of my favorite roles I've ever played. So Scott Lorette, who wrote the book about his life, and
Yeah.
again, this is just, this is an average family that lives in the Midwest, and
Yeah.
like this isn't like, and then there's this is just the normal folks, like the folks that were going to come and see this movie. And so he wrote this movie about his life, and since he was a kid, as I understand it, would talk to himself, and then kind of he created over time, this character, because his parents would say, well, who are you talking to? And he'd say, well, I'm talking to Joe.
Okay.
And so Joe was born, and so Joe was, a real, follow me here, a real imaginary imaginary character. And
Mm.
so I love that, and I love that idea, of having, this internal monologue that then takes the form of a dude in this
Mm.
case. So that was so much fun to play. What I loved about the imaginary character is he's there for the hard times. He's there for the good times. He can be the angel on the shoulder, the devil on the shoulder. And so it was so much fun to play. And I think John Gunn, who wrote and directed it, did a masterful job of using this character to help tell the story. It was truly a blast to play. So, and I think in the screenings, I've heard that Joe is a real fan favorite, and I totally understand why. He's a fan favorite of mine too. So I'm excited for the world to get introduced to Joe.
Did you find that easier because it wasn't like, like it was a made up person? So was it for you? Was it easier to like put your own spin on Joe?
Definitely, because to
Yeah.
me, an imaginary character oftentimes for people is that manifestation of the parts that are hard, that
Yeah.
you can't be or you feel that you can't be. So I love the idea of Joe is like this guy that that he created to kind of help him understand the world and get through these challenging times and the stuff that's going on. So yeah, the more I played with the role and the more that I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I haven't had an imaginary friend. I need a
I
Joe in my life. So
think we all
so
do it a little bit.
yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah, maybe I
Uh,
need to do a service where like I just I can be your rent imaginary friend.
yeah, there you go. Uh, what was it working with Zach and Jacob?
Listen, honestly, the whole cast,
Yeah.
we especially because it's not a large cast. So those of us that were kind of in this thing from the beginning, and the crew, we are all mostly in the same hotel. It was the middle of COVID, so you couldn't really do a whole lot. You could if you went to a restaurant, it had to be outside. There was all this craziness of that time, as we all remember, and so we all got pretty close. And I have so many of the fond memories of this movie are sitting around with a guitar, singing songs, and sitting around the fire. And so much respect to Jacob. That's a hard thing to do for anybody to play a role like that, but to do it as a child actor, I mean, it's remarkable. But both the boys did such a great job as brothers, the two brothers. So that's always a wild card, as you probably know,
Yeah.
when doing film and TV. Is that what are the child actors going to be like? In this case, they were both stellar and really give tremendous performances. And really, the whole movie hinges on that. It had
Mm.
those performances have to be there.
Last question. Is there a specific scene or moment in the film that to this day it's still stuck in you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't want to tell you what it is because I don't want to give it away. But there's a scene, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give it away to your audience, but there's a scene at the end with Scott and Joe by the lakeside. That is my favorite, where all I'll say is Scott questions, for the first time really, what Joe actually might be, and
Mm.
I love that moment, and yeah, I'm excited to share that moment once this movie gets released to the world.
Amazing. Drew, we have Unbreakable Boy coming out about 2 weeks, about next week sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, February 21st.
February 21st. I want to good luck with the film. I want to thank you for coming on, and hopefully I'll see you again in the future.
Appreciate you, man. All the
Good
best.
luck. Good luck. Thank you.